All right, it is December 16th, 2016. This is day 3 of the March back ratio positions with 90 days to expiration now. And we can see on NASDAQ we made $44 while we did absolutely nothing. And on SPX we made $90. And again, absolutely nothing to do today. The market was very flat and traded in a fairly narrow range. So no concerns, no sweat. Really, I didn't even look at these until I made this video. And I will answer a quick question that I was asked. Why trade these exact same things on SPX and NDX? And then I also have some Russell positions because those are all equity indices, which are pretty much highly correlated. They pretty much move exactly the same way. And that's a great question. They move very, very similarly, almost identically, but not quite identically. And so it is possible from time to time the tech stocks lead or lag. Same thing with the small caps. And so I have discovered that it's a whole other discussion of how I've chosen the instruments that I trade. But because of the instruments that I trade, there's not a lot of opportunity for diversification. But I have discovered there is enough between the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 and the Russell 2000 that if you put identical positions on all three, they will behave differently enough that one might be threatening a neutral position on the upside, one might be threatening a neutral position on the downside, one will be working really well. Generally, two of them are working pretty easily, and one of them is a bit of a challenge. And so there is enough variation in the way they move relative to each other that usually one is doing, one or two of them are working really nicely for you, and you're just really looking at one and managing one. And so that's been a good mix. I know some people they just pick one. They just pick one and stick with it. And I know a lot of people, for example, pick Russell and they love it. Russell has always been my worst, and a lot of people don't like the NDX because it's large, so it's fairly capital intensive, and it's not as liquid. And so we looked at that in one of the other videos that the open interest is not so good on the NDX. So SPX has always been one of my bread and butter. I've made a lot of money in SPX. I've made quite a bit in NDX as well. Both of those work well for me. Russell is a constant struggle for me. I do not trade Russell well. I have never gotten along well with Russell. If I looked at my year-to-date P&L and took Russell, if I had not traded Russell at all this year, my overall P&L would be remarkably better. So I have lost a lot of money on Russell this year, and for some reason, I keep coming back to it. I've sworn it off several times in the last few years that I would never trade it again, and I still continue to trade it in much smaller size than I used to, and I still seem to rack up the losses. So at some point I should just give up. But that's a long explanation for a very simple concept that even though they are pretty highly correlated and almost track each other exactly day in and day out, it's not 100% exact. And so there's enough variation between the which one is strong and which one is weak that there's decent opportunity to put several neutral-ish defined option selling strategies on each one, and you can get a bit of diversification that way. So that is why I have the identical position pretty much on two different instruments. And maybe as we go through this process, we'll see that play out where one of them is cooking along pretty well and the other one gives us a bit of a challenge. So we'll see how things unfold. But again, I don't expect many days to be different than this in the end of the year and early January. We'll probably have a whole lot of these type of videos. Just not much to see or think about. Just make a few dollars here and there and wait till these decay down enough that we can take them off. That's what's so great about these longer duration trades. There's really no management necessary unless something really significant is happening. So have a great weekend. Thank you very much for watching, and we will continue to see how these unfold.